facts that will definitely save your life. If you're walking in a public area, no matter what time it is, no matter how populated, and no matter where you are, and someone randomly comes up to you and asks you, do you want to see a magic trick? Run. You do not want to see a magic trick. If you see money falling from a building, do not try to pick it up. Do not approach it. Run away as fast as you can, because this is how terrorists gather people in a collected area. If you're on the coast side of any land, be it the beach or the seaside, and you see the water receding to the horizon, run away as fast as you can. Do not look back. But if you do look back and you see a tsunami in the horizon, it's already too late. If you don't see a tsunami, there's still a chance. If you ever witness a tornado in real life and you notice it's not moving at all, it's definitely moving towards you. Run. If you're ever in an area that is flooding and you're in a building that's more than 2 stories high and you see an elevator, do not take that elevator at all costs. Instead, take the stairs. And finally, do not mindlessly or blindly believe anything that's read or written, no matter who said it, no matter if I said it. Every single thing I just said to you now, take it with a grain of salt. Do not mindlessly believe it. Think twice, research twice, and only agree if it agrees with your own reasoning and common sense. Stay safe. Life advices that will definitely save your life. If you ever feel like you're being stalked or watched, do not dismiss it, follow that gut instinct. Stalkers and even predators like big cats are masters of remaining unseen, and people who have survived close encounters report being watched as a feeling beforehand. And not to mention, humans have specifically evolved to survive those types of experiences. Always check under your car and inside your car before driving off at night. Criminals and even sometimes wild animals are known to hide under cars to ambush unsuspecting victims. If you ever see a child crying alone, always keep your distance and never approach the child mindlessly. Criminals, kidnappers, and traffickers often use fake distressed children to bait adults into lowering their guards. Immediately call the authorities, but do not approach unless you are sure the situation is safe. Always check your shower before entering a hotel room. Cases of intruders hiding behind showers in hotel rooms aren't urban legends. Always verify your space before relaxing in unfamiliar places. Stay safe. Here's some life advice that will save your life. If you ever feel like you're being followed but see no one, look up. This is because some criminals, predators, or stalkers use rooftops or fire escapes to stay hidden while trailing their targets, waiting for the perfect moment to descend. If you're anywhere in the middle of the night and a stranger asks you what the time is, do not look down. This is a very terrifyingly common distraction technique used by attackers. The moment you glance away from focus, they strike. Remember to always be wary of unusual requests asked by strangers in the dark. Hearing footsteps outside your window on the second floor of your house is never impossible. There are terrifyingly many cases of stalkers, intruders, and predators scaling walls or using ladders to gain access to windows or balconies. Never ever assume you're safe just because you're not on the ground floor. Actually, in the case of a house intrusion, only second to the basement, any floors above the ground floor is actually much more dangerous to be in. You want to make sure you're on the ground floor in the case of a house intrusion, so that there are exits nearby. If you ever wake up and find that a chair has been moved in front of your door, you've been trapped. Stalkers or attackers sometimes barricade their victims in their rooms. This ultimately buys them time to ransack the house or prepare their next move. If you ever find any unknown items under your car at night, back away immediately. Some criminals attach tracking devices, hidden cameras, or even explosives in vehicles, especially in isolated parking lots. This life advice should be applied for both day and night, but more specifically in nighttime. If you ever feel like you're being watched even though there's no one around, it isn't paranoia, it's survival. Humans have evolved for thousands upon thousands of years, to which they have an innate ability to sense if they're being observed or watched, even from hidden locations. Trust that gut feeling and run and leave that area immediately. This one is extremely crucial for anyone going out clubbing late at night, especially in a crowded area. If you ever feel a random sharp sting, like a needle has been pricked through you, especially if you're in a big crowd, you're already in danger. There are increasing reports of attackers using syringes filled with drugs to sedate or paralyze people in clubs, in concerts, or even public transports, and the effects are almost immediate. And lastly, hearing tapping noises outside your tent in the middle of the night in the wilderness isn't always an animal. A lot of campers or hikers who have disappeared have often reported strange tapping noises outside their tents moments before vanishing. Predators, human or otherwise, may test your awareness this way. Stay safe. Life advices that will definitely save your life. If you ever encounter a mountain lion or any big cat whatsoever, do not turn your back on it. Instead, Keep eye contact with the mountain lion or cat and walk backwards. Cats are ambush predators. They're one of the handful of animals that don't fight you head on. Instead, they will wait for you to turn around or lose focus to attack. There are videos showing these behaviors with tigers at the zoo. It's been observed through videos that people who sit in front of the enclosure, as soon as they turn their back to the cat, the tiger goes into stop mode, and as soon as they turn around, the tiger goes out of stop mode and attacks. I repeat, upon encountering a mountain lion or any big cat, do not turn your back on it. Knowledge, information, or life advice that might save your life one day if you're ever in a life-threatening situation. If you're ever in a situation when you get held at gunpoint and get asked to get into the second vehicle, do everything in your power not to get into that vehicle. The last thing you want is to get into a second location. Run zigzag, punch and kick, yell fire, do everything in your can. Just do not ever get into that vehicle. And yes, even if this means dying in the process. Because I'm telling you right now, 99% of those who get into the car do not come back and are never seen again. Especially if one is being moved from a public place to a private place. It's also worth mentioning that if you ever get physically attacked, do anything that you can to attain some form of traces of the person who attacked you. Or in many cases, people who attack you. This can include scratching them, biting them, pulling strands of their hair, etc., etc. Just get traces of those people. Because no matter the circumstance or outcome, doing so increases your likelihood of receiving compensation or justice. But I repeat one more time, if you're ever held at gunpoint and get asked to get into a vehicle, never ever go into that vehicle and do everything you can in your power to avoid so. Stay safe. Facts that will definitely save your life. One of the most effective ways to recognize the warning signs of a suicide bombers are: suicide bombers often exhibit intense nervousness. They tend to wear bulky clothing that are usually inappropriate for the environment or the place or setting, and they often avoid security checks. This was the case for several airport and metro bombings worldwide. If you ever see someone matching this description, distance yourself and call authorities and security immediately, even if it means potentially being wrong in your judgment in the end. Always take bombing jokes and threats seriously, no matter who they come from. Especially if you're at a very highly populated area like an airport, a shopping center, a metro, or a school. While many bomb threats are hoaxes, ignoring them can be fatal. For instance, prior to some real attacks, false threats have been used to desensitize people. If someone ever makes a joke about having a bomb, call them out immediately and distance yourself. They are a literal threat and should be treated as such. And always leave the area immediately if someone makes a bomb threat, no matter how false it seems. Always know at least 2 ways out of the building. If anything, you should know as many ways out of the building as you can. Any life-threatening emergency such as a fire, a shooting, or a natural disaster such as a structural collapse make a lot of exits unusable, and this can especially include the main exit. Many survivors have often reported escaping through secondary routes such as the back exit or windows. If you ever enter a building, especially one you've never been to before or one that feels unfamiliar, always mentally note the nearest route, exits, and map, and try your best to plan an alternate route. And finally, this is how you recognize the grooming process, or if someone is trying to groom you. Grooming is trafficking, and traffickers often build friendship and trust with their victims over time, appearing as lovers, romantic partners, or friends. In this process, they isolate the victim, create dependence in them, and then exploit them. If someone is ever pressuring you to cut ties with your family and friends and make you financially dependent on them, recognize this as an immediate major red flag and seek help immediately. Stay safe. Here's some facts that will definitely save your life. If you ever hear laughter in the woods, run. This is not just some urban legend. Criminals such as kidnappers, human traffickers, and predators often use laughter to disorient people and lure them into getting closer. Never ever investigate strange noises in remote areas, especially on your own. If you ever hear faint, irregular breathing in your bedroom but don't see anyone, leave without a sound. Intruders hiding under beds, in closets, or even pressing themselves into corners try their absolute best to keep silent, but not everyone can suppress the sound of their own breathing. If you ever find yourself feeling water dripping on you, immediately check above you and find and verify the source of that. Many murder victims have often been found stuffed in ceilings or water tanks, and often their decomposition will sometimes leak into apartments or hotel rooms below. If it's not a pipe, it's something worse. If someone you're arguing with suddenly becomes eerily calm or silent, immediately take notice and do not ignore this sign. They have definitely moved into a more sinister and dangerous mental state. Stay alert and try to de-escalate. Stay safe. Here are some facts and life advices that will definitely save your life and keep you safe. For any pet owners out there, if you have a dog or a cat and they suddenly start avoiding certain parts of the house, they start acting strange, such as hiding under furniture, becoming clingy or anxious, if your dog especially whimpers or barks at nothing, or your cat hisses and runs away and flees at nothing, it could mean someone unfamiliar is hiding nearby or has been in your house. Never leave your door unlocked, even in broad daylight. This advice should be common sense at this point because many home intruders don't break in. They simply try doors around the perimeter of the house until they find one that's unlocked. Always lock your doors and windows, even at daytime and even when you're at home. If you ever enter your vehicle alone, always check the back seat. Predators may hide in cars, waiting for the perfect opportunity to ambush, that perfect opportunity being if you lock your doors while you're inside alone. Don't ignore unusual smells in your home. Strange and often sudden smells like almonds, burning plastic, or rotten eggs can indicate poison, gas leaks, or electrical fires. In more sinister or worse cases, this could be someone trying to sedate you or poison you, making it easier for them to break into your home while you're immobilized. No matter how busting you are to go to the toilet, always be wary of public restrooms. Number 1, don't ever assume public restrooms are safe. Ladies specifically, I'm talking to you. Predators have been known to hide in public restrooms to wait for vulnerable people, especially in quiet locations. No matter how desperate you are to use the restroom, especially if you're in a public toilet, always check your surroundings. Never ever enter a restroom that seems eerily quiet, especially if a lot of the stalls are occupied. Number 2 is especially very deranged but extremely real and not an urban legend. Always look down at the public restroom toilet before you use it. There have been stories of people finding small hidden cameras hidden in toilet bowls. I repeat, upon entering a public restroom, do so with caution. Stay safe out there. Facts that will definitely save your life. Most of the time, predators, stalkers, and criminals often look for distracted people. They often target people distracted on their phones or headphones because they're less likely to notice the upcoming threat. Always stay alert, especially in unfamiliar areas or late hours. If you're ever driving in the middle of the night, always be wary of cars that don't have their headlights on or their lights on at all. In the past, serial killers like Ted Bundy or Richard Ramirez would often abduct their victims and drive off in a secluded area without their headlights on to avoid getting noticed by police officers. Upon seeing a car with no headlights on, always keep your distance and always alert authorities immediately. Chances are there is a victim in there. If your pet is acting terrified of a specific area, take it seriously, do not ignore it. Dogs and cats have very heightened senses that can detect home intruders, gas leaks, or other home hazards and dangers that you might not be able to see. They can sense danger when you can't, especially way before you. Stay safe. Here are some life advices that will definitely save your life and keep you safe. If you ever notice any fresh footprints around your house that stop abruptly or lead to nowhere, especially in mud, snow, or dirt, it could be a sign that someone is stalking you or someone is casing around your house. Criminals or stalkers might approach to observe the insides through windows or test locks, then leave very carefully to avoid being caught. Footprints that lead to absolutely nowhere or stop abruptly could mean that the person has backtracked through their original path to cover their movement and or enter the vehicle nearby. In some sinister and disturbing but very real cases, some criminals or stalkers try to manipulate their movements of their tracks by jumping into foliage or climbing up a tree to make it seem like the path has ended abruptly, and in reality they could very well be hiding nearby. If this ever happens, don't ever investigate alone. Make sure to secure all doors and windows immediately, check your CCTV cameras if they are available, or consider installing some, and call the police to report the incident and try to preserve the footprints as much as you can. This is all for evidence. Stay safe. Facts will definitely save your life. There are places where screaming is practically useless, or you shouldn't even scream at all. Deeply remote areas like the ocean, the mountains, rainforests, caves are known as dead zones because nobody can hear you scream. Countless missing people vanish in these areas specifically every single year. Always carry GPS trackers or emergency beacons in isolated areas. And never go alone in these areas without telling someone you trust. Your organs are worth a fortune. This is not an urban legend. The black market organ trade is very real, and many victims of kidnappings who have survived have often been found with their organs surgically removed. You are worth more dead than alive to the right people. Never ever travel alone in high-risk areas and always be aware of your surroundings. Dead bodies always float face down in the water. If you're ever in a secluded area and you find a so-called dead body in the water, always know this rule of nature. If someone claims that they found a drowning victim but the body floating is faced up, they might be lying. Always be cautious of those around you in such scenarios. They might be hiding something. A dead body always floats naturally face down due to buoyancy. Stay safe. Here are some facts and tips that will definitely save your life in the future. If you are ever driving in a secluded and remote area at night, especially on your own, and there are no cars in front of you or behind you for miles, and you see a dead body in the middle of the road, do not get out of your car to investigate. Do not open your doors, keep your doors locked, and stay in your car. This seemingly heartbreaking scenario is often used by criminals to lure unsuspecting victims into danger. Instead, this is what you should do. Be very quick to lock your doors and windows. No matter how secluded or remote the area is, you should call the authorities immediately. And try to drive around the dead person, and as soon as you go past the dead person, accelerate as fast as you can and do not go back. If you do those 3 actions swiftly and correctly, you have just successfully escaped an ambush attempt. These types of situations are not for the weak, and they require you to think very quick. I'll explain why it is so important to understand this scenario. Number 1, the person who is lying on the middle of the road is most likely not dead. It's a disturbingly common tactic used by criminals to stage a dead person in the middle of the road, hoping for a good Samaritan to come and help them. Once you get out of the car, these people might come in groups of 5 to 20. Or even more, and they attack you, rob you, or worse. Keep in mind, it is the middle of the night and you are in a secluded, remote area. They're definitely hiding somewhere in the dark. If you're ever in a situation like this and you get out of the vehicle, you're practically exposed and there's little to no escape, and there's no safety. And the criminals could be right behind you ready to strike. I repeat, if you're ever driving at nighttime in a secluded and remote area and you're in a situation like this, drive away. Do not get out of your vehicle. Stay safe. Terrifying facts that will save your life. There are people who are trained to abduct and erase your existence. Some criminal organizations hire specialists who can quickly erase all digital traces of a person. This can include removing them from records, social media, or even surveillance footage. These people are skilled in making you disappear completely out of the face of the earth. No traces left behind. To protect yourself from identity erasure, always lock down your online presence. This can include using strong passwords, encryption, or strong privacy settings. Always regularly monitor your digital footprints and be wary of what you do online. And always remove yourself from broker sites to prevent tracking or exploitation. If you're ever walking in a secluded or poorly lit area in the middle of the night and you start to feel an unsettling presence, do not look behind you. If you ever feel like someone is following you, chances are someone is. Always have an escape route in mind. This can include knowing where the nearest building and nearest populated area is. If you're ever in this situation, never ever show fear in the slightest. Walk confidently as if you're not alone. The more you act like a target, the more you will become one. If you ever find an item in your house that doesn't belong to you, do not touch it. This could be a sign that someone has been in your home while you weren't. Always act quickly. Do not try to look for any other signs or try to investigate. That one sign is enough. Lock all doors and windows, gather anything that is valuable or important, and leave immediately. This might seem harmless, but the longer you stay, the more vulnerable you are to whoever placed the item there. Stay safe. Life advices that will definitely save your life. If someone ever tries to grab you from behind, drop your weight and go limp. Most, if not all, attackers rely on quick control, and dead weight is much harder to move than someone resisting upright. Know that this move might help you prevent yourself from getting into a second location. If you ever wake up to the sound of someone being in your house, lock your doors and barricade yourself immediately. Most burglars flee when they sense that someone is awake, but most that don't are likely there for more sinister and deranged reasons. The thin line here between life and death is hiding silently and confronting them. Those that don't leave when they're alerted that you're awake and they're aware of your presence are most likely better prepared for violence than you. If you ever smell almonds in a sealed room, leave immediately. Cyanide gas smells a lot like almonds, and even a small dose can kill within minutes. Recognize this danger and leave immediately before your body starts shutting down. In very disturbing cases, cyanide poisoning has been used by criminals to incapacitate and sedate their victims so that they can attack them or ransack the house. Stay safe. Facts will definitely save your life. If you ever hear your name being called out in the middle of the night, especially if you're alone, never answer. This could well be a tactic used to lure you out of your safety, either from your bed or your home. The voice might even be familiar, but the caller isn't who they seem. If it's comprehensible, loud, and clear, do not get out. It's most likely a trap to get you into contact with something that shouldn't even be near you.
Never get up.
If it's in the middle of the night and you're on your bed, get out of your bed, hide in a corner, in the darkest corner you can find, and make sure you wait there until the situation passes. If it continues, call for help very quietly and stay low. For those who have children, if your child suddenly goes missing from your home, the last places you'd ever want them to be, such as tight spaces, dark corners, tight compartments, crawl spaces, basements, under big furniture, should be the first place you should search for. Your first instinct as a parent should be to try to find them in places they would never easily be found. If your child is truly safe, they would often hide in places that feel truly safe to them, even if it feels uncomfortable for you as a parent or a guardian. It's easy for one's mind to immediately assume that they're in common places like their playroom or their bedroom. But those darker, more dangerous and confined spaces could hold the answer. Every second matters in this situation, and time is so critical. Never hesitate to check every corner, no matter how unsettling it might seem. If you ever hear strange noises such as shrieks or muffled screams coming from your neighbor's house, do not ignore it. Human trafficking victims and captives often live hidden in plain sight, suffering while everyone around them turns a blind eye. The very thin line is deciding to act as soon as possible, and yes, even if this means being potentially wrong in your judgment or being the one who falsely accuses someone. Always know that regretfully being complicit of someone's suffering is much worse than the fear of falsely accusing someone. Stay safe. Here's some facts that'll definitely save your life. If you're ever approaching your car in the middle of the night, especially in a secluded parking lot, and you notice a zip tie or a plastic bag hanging from the handle of your car, run immediately. Kidnappers and criminals sometimes place zip ties or plastic bags over your car handles so that you slow down upon entering your car. This is a very deliberate and refined move, and this is done to distract you. This distraction gives them time to strike you or grab you while you're focused on removing the zip tie or the plastic bag. Human traffickers, kidnappers, and criminals count on distraction and hesitation. Speed and situational awareness can save your life. Always scan your vehicle from a distance, especially in a remote and secluded area in the middle of the night. Even being close to the vehicle puts you at great risk. Always be aware of situations like these, because situations like these are much more disturbing and terrifying, especially if you're on your own and you're driving alone. These people can come in groups of 3 to 5. If you ever see anything unusual, do not approach. Call for help from a secure and safe location. If you ever see anything unusual, do not approach. Call for help from a secure and safe location. If you ever plan on going urban exploring, always tell someone, especially a loved one, where exactly you're going. During urban explorings, individuals have often fallen into unsecure underground tunnels or collapsed floors. In one such case, a man exploring a storm drain in an abandoned property was caught in a flash flood and drowned, unable to escape the rising water on time. Always inform someone of your exact location before exploring. Always carry with you a flashlight, a whistle, or basic survival tools. Remember to always plan the weather and circumstances prior to exploring. This can save your life. And finally, upon exploring, always remember to avoid unstable structures and surfaces and monitor weather conditions, especially near underground structures. If you're ever driving in a secluded area, no matter the time or circumstances, and a driver approaches you and offers a shortcut, do not trust them immediately. In fact, do not trust them at all. Trust what's on your map. Human traffickers and criminals may pose as locals, offering shortcuts or alternate routes to travelers or urban explorers. The second you agree to their offer and you follow them, you're often led to a very secluded and eerily isolated area where escape is virtually impossible. Never take advice or accept offers from strangers to deviate from your planned path, and always stick to well-lit and populated areas at all cost. Stay safe out there. Facts will definitely save your life. If you ever hear a crying baby outside your home in the middle of the night, do not go to investigate. Criminals, kidnappers, and human traffickers have been known to play recordings of babies crying in the middle of the night to lure unsuspecting victims into stepping outside. If you ever hear baby cries in the middle of the night, never go out to investigate. Call the authorities instead of investigating yourself. If you're ever in the beach or the seaside and you suddenly get caught in riptide, do not swim towards the shore. Swimming towards the shore will exhaust and drown you, and this is one of the biggest mistakes swimmers have often made in the past. The only way you can ever survive the riptide is to swim parallel to the shoreline until you manage to escape the current. And remember, never panic, as the slightest panic can seal your fate. Never ever trust the smile of a stranger. No matter what time it is, day or night, if you ever encounter a stranger that smiles at you for no apparent reason, be it too long, too wide, or at a simply a very inappropriate moment, never smile back. Many serial killers and predators have been known to exhibit unnerving facial expressions. They often use them to gauge your response before deciding whether to approach or back off. That stranger might not be wanting to make a small talk. They might be wanting to kill you. Stay safe. Facts will definitely save your life. If you are ever kidnapped or abducted in any way, shape, or form, and they take you to a second location, your odds of survival plummet significantly. Fight like your life depends on it before they isolate you and before it's too late. This is an extremely crucial survival tip because resisting or escaping in a public or semi-public area greatly increases your odds of being noticed or being heard. Thus, you're more likely to be rescued. The moment you're moved to a secluded location, your abductor and attacker gains complete control over you, and opportunities for intervention drastically decrease, and it's too late. If someone ever watches you too closely or adjusts their pace to match yours, always assume they're hunting you. Immediately get loud, change direction, and never let them corner you. Predators, human traffickers, and kidnappers often rely on stealth and hesitation. Breaking their rhythm disrupts their plan and makes you a harder target. If you're ever walking alone, especially in a secluded area, and a car slows down near you and someone asks from inside the vehicle for directions, run the opposite direction immediately. This should be common sense at this point. Never ever approach anyone who's slowing down near you, no matter how innocent they seem. In the past, many kidnappers and often serial killers have used tricks like pretending to need help. Staying out of arm's reach can be the difference between safety and abduction. Stay safe. Facts that will definitely save your life. If you are ever driving in a secluded or remote area in the middle of the night and suddenly eggs are thrown at your car windshield, do not use your wipers. This situation is not for the weak. You must think quick. Do not stop your car. Do not use your wipers. Drive as fast as you can. Accelerate. Go as far as you can. Do not stop. Eggs that are thrown at your windshield are a very common tactic and a trap used by criminals to disorient drivers and force them to stop in secluded areas. This ultimately leaves them vulnerable for potential ambush or carjackings. Do not stop your vehicle, do not slow down, accelerate and keep on driving until you are in a well-lit and populated area. Only when you are in a safer, well-lit and populated area can you start cleaning your windshield. I repeat, as soon as eggs are thrown at your windshield in the middle of the night in a secluded area, do not stop. Do not use your wipers. If you ever hear tapping on your window at the middle of the night, treat it as an immediate and imminent threat. Freeze and silence everything. Be extremely swift to turn off the lights, turn off your electronics, or anything that makes noise. Avoid casting shadow from the outside as well. Do not approach or open the window. Even the tiniest of actions can escalate the staged attack or ambush. Immediately grab any object near to you that can be used as a weapon and hide. Do not ever reply or say anything that gives away your position to anyone outside of your window. Once you're well hidden, call emergency services immediately but very discreetly. Provide your address and stay on the line until help arrives. Stay safe out there. Here are some facts that will definitely save your life. If you've encountered a person, no matter how old they are, and they start stumbling for no reason, they have slurred speech, and sound drunk, but they haven't had alcohol, ask them to smile. If their face looks weird or disorientated, especially if one side is drooping like the mouth or eyes, take them to the hospital immediately. This could be a stroke. Remember, anyone of any age can have a stroke. No one is an exception to this. This situation has a very thin line between safety and death. Remember, quick action and quick immediate treatment save lives. If you ever find yourself stranded in an outback or a desert, do not drink the water from the cactus. If you have little to no experience or simply are not equipped to surviving in natural environments such as a desert, you must always understand that most cacti contains toxic sap. One must deeply understand that the liquids inside most cacti are not pure water. In fact, it's far from. Instead, these cacti contain acids like alkaloids and other acids that are extremely toxic to humans. These compounds can cause intense kidney strains, nausea, and not to mention intense vomiting and diarrhea. Hence, not only will this not hydrate you, in fact, dehydrate you further, this will also decrease your chances of survival sharply and significantly, which is something you do not want. But there are exceptions to this. One of the few cactuses that have drinkable but not very pure water is a fishhook barrel cactus. But even drinking from this cactus is extremely not recommended. In fact, identifying this cactus is extremely difficult anyway. In this circumstance, the risk and dangers always outweigh the benefits. This is what you should do instead of drinking cactus from a desert. You should try to conserve your sweat and not water.
Try the best of your ability to stay shaded as much as you can and minimize the contact with the sun and heat to retain body moisture. Albeit more difficult and requires much more precision, try to look for natural water sources. This can be from rock crevices or try to follow animals that may lead to water. And remember, as common sense as this sounds, a lot of people fail to do this. Try to remain calm as much as you can. If you ever have a moment of extreme sickness and you vomit, and suddenly your vomit looks like coffee grounds, head to the hospital immediately. This could be internal bleeding. Vomit that resembles coffee grounds can most definitely indicate internal bleeding in the gastrointestinal tract, such as the stomach, the esophagus, or the duodenum. This coffee ground-like appearance is caused by the blood in your body being partially digested by the acid in your stomach. Gastrointestinal bleeding might be caused by internal trauma, gastritis, peptic ulcers, esophageal varices, or even cancer. Always remember that coffee ground vomiting is a medical emergency and requires immediate care. If this ever happens to you, do not eat or drink. Seek medical help immediately. This can save your life. God bless and stay safe. Facts that will definitely save your life. Stairs can be silent killers. Most fatal accidents at home happen in the stairs, especially at night. Predators and intruders know this and may scatter small objects, loosen railings, or sabotage the staircase in some way to create an accident look. Always check your stairs, especially if you live alone. That free sample could be laced. Criminals in busy areas like the mall or the street have been known to offer free samples of food, drinks, or even fragrances that are laced with drugs. If something feels off, refuse immediately, but politely. And never consume anything from a stranger's hands. Taxis and rideshares can be rigged. Fake rideshares have been used for abductions, especially by human traffickers. Before entering a stranger's vehicle, always verify and confirm their identity, their number plate, and of course, who they're picking up, especially if you're alone at night. Predators always target and rely on rush passengers missing these steps. Stay safe. Facts that will definitely save your life. If you're ever stuck in an elevator, especially in a very tall building, and it starts falling, never jump. Instead, what you should do is that you should lay flat on the floor with your hands behind your head and one in front. This will distribute the fall evenly and avoid injury as much as possible, while also protecting your head. If you are ever in a petrol station and you happen to witness an armed robbery, do not make eye contact with the criminals. Almost certainly, many criminals often shoot and kill those who they feel could identify them. Stay still, keep your head down, and comply. If you are ever in a public parking lot and someone points out a damage in your car, do not go to investigate it immediately. Criminals may use this moment to ambush or kidnap you. If you see anything powdery on things that you use daily, such as your car handle, mailboxes, etc., do not touch it. Never touch powder that's left on car handles, doorsteps, and mailboxes. Drugs like fentanyl and other dangerous substances can be absorbed through the skin, which will incapacitate you almost immediately. Stay safe. Facts that will definitely save your life. If you're ever alone anywhere and you start choking, but there's no one around to help, do not run for the nearest help. Instead, perform the Heimlich maneuver yourself. If you are ever choking, you must know where to hit. Here, from the belly button, fist up. This is where you should aim, right here. Perform the Heimlich maneuver yourself by bending over anything that is horizontal or you can thrust your abdomen to. Remember, aim for the abdomen. Anything like a countertop table or a chair. What you do is you thrust your abdomen like that and keep performing it until whatever is choking gets out of your esophagus. This can save your life. Number 2, if someone has a severe bleeding on their arm or leg and you cannot stop it with pressure, you have minutes before they die. In this situation, you have to think quick. You have to use a belt or lace or anything as a tourniquet above your wound, and you must stop the bleeding from above the wound. You must tighten until the bleeding slows at all cost, no matter how excruciating it is. You can save someone's life with this method. And finally, number 3, if you ever wake up in the middle of the night to someone unfamiliar being in your room, do not react. Stay silent, stay still. Do not alert the person over your bed. Pretend like you're asleep, but assess the situation. If safe to do so, grab anything that's near you that you can use as a weapon, or call the police immediately. If you're confronted, shout, "I've already called the police," to deter them. Stay safe. Facts that will definitely save your life. If you find sharp metal, glass, or needles on your food, it's never an accident. It's always intentional. Stop eating immediately. Keep the food and packaging as evidence and report it. If you have ever swallowed, even unintentionally, you must seek medical attention right away. Deranged and psychotic individuals often do this type of tampering to deliberately harm you and can cost you your life if ignored. If you ever feel sleepy while driving, but you didn't drink and slept well, pull over immediately. Someone may have tampered with your air vents or drink, releasing sedatives and toxins. Open your windows, get fresh air, and call the police immediately. This tactic is sometimes used for robberies or abductions. If you ever receive a distressing call from someone who seemed panicked, remember, if they had time to call you, they should have called the police first. This is especially true if they're calling to you regarding a life and death situation. This could indicate the following. Number 1, they could be coerced. Someone might be forcing them to call you so that they can lure you and manipulate you. Number 2, they could genuinely be in immediate danger but they're not thinking rationally. Or for some unknown reason whatsoever, they can't call emergency services. Or number 3, it's probably not even them. Scammers, criminals, or even sometimes human traffickers might imitate and pose as loved ones through artificial intelligence or past recordings of their voices. They do this to either extract money or information, or they might even do this to manipulate and lure you into some form of ambush. If you are ever in this situation, do not reveal any information, especially where you are in the moment. Ask them direct questions only they would know the answer to. If they tell you they're in X place, do not go to that place. Call the police immediately and verify all their details. And most importantly, verify their safety. Try calling them from another method, or try calling someone within the area that they claim to be in to confirm the situation. Remember, staying level-headed can save your life. Stay safe.
Facts, they'll definitely save your life. If a large, aggressive dog suddenly lunges at you out of nowhere, stand your ground. Avoid eye contact as this will definitely provoke the dog. Do not show them any fear, stay calm. Do not run as this will trigger the dog's prey drive. Instead, what you should do is you should slowly walk away from the dog sideways. Avoid eye contact but observe the dog. If it suddenly attacks, immediately shove anything into its mouth, such as your arm wrapped in a jacket. At all costs, stop the dog from lethal bites into your neck. One wrong move and its teeth could literally rip out your throat or your vital arteries. Upon escaping and surviving the attack, if you do, seek medical assistance immediately. I really mean immediately, as fast as you can. Once you experience the first onset symptoms of rabies, there's nothing you can do. It's too late. There is no cure for rabies. If a gunman ever approaches you and demands your belongings, then you notice its finger tightening in its trigger, comply, stay calm, give them whatever they ask for. Your life is more important than your dignity in this situation. At all costs, prioritize that over everything. If they're distracted, throw your wallet or bag away from you to divert their attention, then run. Your survival hinges on you staying calm. Making sudden moves can get you shot instantly. And finally, if you're ever on a plane in an emergency situation where the plane is forced to land on water, wait until you're outside of the plane before you inflate your life jacket. If the door sinks below the waterline and you have to swim down, you won't be able to do it with an inflated vest. This often overlooked mishap is one of the biggest contributing factors as to why many people die in water-related plane crashes. And more specifically, this mistake was one of the contributing factors that claimed many lives in the Ethiopian Airlines Flight 961. I repeat, if you're ever on a plane that's forced to land on sea, do not inflate your life jacket inside. Wait until you're outside to inflate it. Stay safe out there.
Facts will definitely save your life. If you're ever in a situation where you're drowning, always remember that most people die from panic, not from the lack of ability to swim. The human body naturally floats if you relax and let yourself drift. Fighting the water and thrashing will only waste your energy and pull you down faster. If you feel yourself sinking or are struggling to stay afloat, do this immediately. Tilt your head back, fill your lungs with air, and let your body rise to the water. If you're ever hiking and you find yourself in a completely silent area with no birds, animals, insects, or other sounds, leave immediately. Predators like mountain lions or bears often create dead zones in the wilderness. Or alternatively, this could mean that a storm or an environmental hazard like a gas leak is imminent. Regardless, always trust your instincts and get to safety as fast as you can. And finally, if you're ever in a quiet or deserted area such as an abandoned park or resort and you need to go to the toilet, and when you enter the restroom, most if not all the stalls are occupied except one, leave immediately. This can especially be true if you try calling out to the stalls and none of them reply. Criminals, kidnappers, and predators have been known to hide in public restrooms, particularly targeting isolated or vulnerable individuals. If the restrooms appear strangely quiet, even despite being occupied, they're most likely waiting for you to enter that stall. Do not enter that stall. Stay safe. Here are some facts that'll definitely save your life. If you ever live alone and you hear footsteps upstairs your house while you're downstairs, they already know you're there. Most house intruders aren't random. They've already been watching you. If you ever hear movements upstairs while you're alone, their plan is already in motion. Leave your house as fast as you can and as quietly as you can, and only confront when trapped. If a stranger asks you, do you live alone? Always lie. Always reply to that question with, oh, I live with parents, or my roommate's home, or my boyfriend's coming home soon. This can immediately dissuade predators targeting solo victims. If you ever find a door ajar in your home and you didn't leave it that way, back away immediately. Intruders sometimes leave doors open, no matter how slightly they are, as a trap. Walking into that room, especially if that room has no form of escape like windows, makes you extremely vulnerable. Leave immediately and call the police, even if this means finding out there's no intruder in the process. And finally, if you're ever being chased, never run in a straight line. Run in a zigzag or any other pattern. Zigzagging can make it harder for a pursuer to predict their path, especially if they're armed or driving. As you continue running that way, always try to run in crowds or areas with light or noise. Stay safe.
Facts that will definitely save your life. If you're ever on an elevator and someone enters with you, but they don't press any buttons and instead just watches and stands still, this could be a setup for a physical assault or robbery. If the person doesn't engage with you or suddenly moves closer without a legitimate reason, always be aware that elevators are one of the most dangerous places for sudden attacks. In such cases, immediately push the emergency button or get off at the nearest floor, regardless of whether or not it's your stop. Never ever assume you're safe in confined spaces, especially with strangers. If you are ever at home and hear a sudden thud at your door late at night, like something heavy falling, or a distinct thud that is too loud to be ignored, this could be someone attempting to break in or a signal for an attack. Do not, under any circumstances, ever open the door to investigate, especially if you don't know who's on the other side. Be very swift to make sure all your doors and windows are locked. Make sure you move into an interior room or the most defensible place in your house. Stay very quiet, keep your phone with you, and make sure you call the police immediately. Time is of the essence in this situation. If the person has already broken in, they're likely already trying to find you. If you're ever walking in a public area, especially a busy street or populated place, and you see someone dressed in an unreasonable or out-of-place manner, moving strangely or interacting in a way that feels detached, particularly if they're lingering around sensitive areas like train stations, airports, metros, etc., or any place with big crowds, you might be encountering a terrorist scout, or you might very well be witnessing someone preparing for an attack. In often disturbing but very real cases in which just moments and even just seconds before attacking, these individuals often observe and track patterns, assessing and making mental notes of any weaknesses and vulnerable targets. Always stay alert in the situation. If the person is making you uncomfortable or is staring at you too intently, subtly try to move away or contact a security guard. This type of reconnaissance is often overlooked, but awareness is key to spotting pre-attack behavior. Stay safe. Here are some facts that'll definitely save your life. If you ever wake up to find your phone missing, assume someone's already inside. Intruders sometimes steal your phone first to prevent you from calling help. If this ever happens to you, immediately secure yourself in a room and assess for any possible escape. If you ever hear random scratching or tapping at night, don't assume it's an animal. When I say scratching or tapping, I mean the ones that are consistent, have rhythm, and have volume, distinct from the typical noises made by rats in the attic or trees in the window. Stalkers or criminals may test your reaction by making noise. Never ignore this sound, you could embolden them. What you should do in this situation is, of course, notice it, treat it as an imminent threat, but instead of reacting loudly, treat it as if you heard nothing. Do not make it seem like you're searching for wherever the sound is coming from. Without making it look like you're searching from something, try to observe your room and look for any object you can use as a weapon. As per common sense, if you haven't already, call the police immediately. If you're 100% certain that this is a one-person intrusion, try to leave your house secretly, but as fast as you can. And finally, if you're ever alone at your home and you're showering and suddenly hear faint footsteps, the sound of the water might have masked their entry. Bathrooms are not only high-risk areas for ambushes, but they're the type of rooms that intruders and criminals often wait for you to go to because you're isolated and vulnerable. Always have a weapon or escape plan nearby when you're home alone. Stay safe.